Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going to talk about the value of some of the Ferraris in the current market in Q2 of 2026.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan and this is our dealership MG Supercars. And if you have been watching our channel, you know what? We actually already did this. But apparently people were upset and I literally got people who were mad at me because I didn't talk about their car. So we're going to talk about their car. All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the other models that I missed in our first video, and I also want to just talk about a few other things. So before I get into it, real quick, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out normalguysupercar.com and ngsupercars.com. There, I got all that shit out of the way. Okay, now we can talk about cars, and people are going to still complain, so let's just deal with it. Okay, let's sit down and have a chat. All right, YouTube, so first of all, let's talk about a few things to get out of the way. Ever since that video, which we really do appreciate, lots of people watched that video and we got a lot of comments, positive and negative. People disagreed about certain things and whatever. And like I said, a few people got upset that we didn't talk about their car. But this is what the fascinating part to me was. We had people calling us and demanding that I tell the value of their car. Not being polite about it. They're like, you need to tell me what my car is worth. And I'm like, no, if we're going to buy your car, that's one thing. If we're going to consign your car, that's another thing. But if you're just like, I just want to know how much my car is worth, I'm not going to do that. It takes a while for us to figure out how much your car is really worth because we need to see all the information about the car. We need to see pictures of the car. We need to kind of look at the market for the car because things can change rapidly. So that being said, if you're interested in getting a value of your car and you're not trying to sell the car to us or consign it with us, we would be willing to do it, but you're going to pay our consultation fee. Sorry, but you're taking our time. We run a business. So again, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm not trying to be mean, but just, we get a lot of emails, a lot. If you saw my emails and DMs and text messages and stuff, you would understand. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's talk about the big one that I missed, and I admit this one is a big one, the Ferrari California. There's a lot of them on the market. Right now, there's hundreds on the market for sale. That's just actually for sale right now. Surprisingly, their values are actually up a little. So for a long time, you could get Californias easily under $100,000. And we're seeing quite a few of them over $100,000, especially the later ones. So if you have, and just quick clarification, this is California, not California T. All right, now we got that out of the way. So the early Calis, generally, I'm going to say 80 to 100, 110, 115. Low mile examples, maybe 120 for a super low mile, very rare or interesting spec or super high option or something like that. But most of them are right around 100-ish, plus or minus about 10 grand is what I'm going to say. Now, the interesting thing about the Calis is that you can find some that have really high miles, people who literally daily drove these cars and they have 50, 60,000 miles, and you can pick those up in the 80K range, which sometimes even less, which to me is a bargain of the century. You're buying a Ferrari for the cost of a, I don't know, some other crappy luxury car that isn't as cool as a Ferrari and does not have a Ferrari engine. That part of the Cali equation is really appealing when they start getting really cheap. Also, they're fairly reasonably reliable. They're in that generation of Ferrari where they're actually not bad. So the only downside is the infotainment sucks. Let's just be real here. It's like a Chrysler product. It needs to go away. If you get a Cali, just, get rid of that. Cali T's. Okay, those also kind of holding their value, maybe going up a little bit. Again, a little bit more expensive than the regular Calis. We're talking in the 150 average plus or minus 20,000 range is kind of where they're at. We've seen, they can be in the 120s and even lower if they're super high miles or crappy spec or whatever. Yeah, that kind of seems to be about where they're at. Now, moving on from California, the California T, you get into the Portofino market. Now, again, the Portofino market, we don't pay a whole lot of attention to because we don't get requests for Portofino. I can actually tell you how many requests we've had for Portofino. Zero. None. Zero. No one's ever emailed us and asked for a Portofino. That's not because they're not good cars and they don't look good, because I actually think they look good. I think they look better than California. And for a little bit more money, you can get one over a Cali T. So they're fairly close in price to Cali T, probably about $20,000 to $30,000 more, maybe a little bit more. So they're kind of closer to the almost approaching 200 mark and 200 above mark for low mile examples, especially the Portofino M's, absolutely over 200K. But you can find them near and below 200 at this point in the market. I don't have historical data and I haven't been paying attention to them, so I honestly can't tell you if they're going up or down. My gut says they're coming down just because they're still new enough. I don't know. So if you've been paying attention to that market, fill in the blank. I don't know. So my apologies that I missed those. Those were a big thing. The other car that I missed that we specifically were asked to do was the Roma. Okay, again, we don't really look at the Roma, and a part of this is we don't look at the really new cars, to be honest. Like 48s are kind of as new as we go. We don't buy them for our inventory. Part of it is once they get too new, the values of these cars get so large that it ties up too much of our capital, and we only have a limited capital pool to buy cars with. So I don't want all my money going into one of these cars and then having it sit around and not sell very easily. And that's the other thing is I think the newest Ferraris aren't selling as easy in the current environment as the older stuff. Also, we just know from experience that the more expensive the car, generally the harder it is to sell because the number of people that can afford it shrinks. So it's far easier to sell a car that's 150 grand than it is 250 grand, than it is 350 grand, and so on. You know, you get the point. So Romas, yes, Romas are down a lot from their MSRPs. They are below 200 now for higher mile examples. You know, earlier cars, the later ones are above 200. The range is large because they're still new and they're still depreciating. So I don't have like a exact number for you. Something I forgot about mentioning, for Calis, there's like over 150 to 200 of them for sale. Cali T's, not that many. Portofino's, far less, like I'm going to say like 60 to 75. Romas, there's quite a few. I think there's around 100 right now for sale. I actually forgot to look at that number. The combination of lots on the market, plus being a new car, it's still depreciating. Will they stop depreciating? I think they're pretty close to the bottom of the barrel for depreciation on the Romas because they start getting to that point where they're just so cheap that it's like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to buy it for that much. It's cheap, right? Like, you know, you start approaching 150 grand for that car. That's a lot of car for the money. I'm just, you know, laying it out there. Okay, some other cars that I missed. I apologize again. 308, 328. I think I mentioned them, but the problem with the 308 and the 328 is that there's so few for sale that it's really hard to know what's the right value on these cars. And again, we don't generally buy these cars because they're kind of not in our bread and butter range. You know, like we really like 360s to 458s. That's our favorite. Like 360, 430, 458. Those are our favorite cars. We have bought and sold many hundreds of those cars now. That's just, we know them so well, that's why we stick to them. But 308s, 328s, they're actually, I know they're on their way up. I have definitely been paying attention enough to know that they are up in value for sure. What that value is so broad, it's hard to say. We've seen them as cheap as like 50 and 60 grand, and I've seen them as much as like 200 plus. So it's really hard to know, like, what's the actual value of these things right now. And another one that's also really hard to know is the 348. So 348s, I looked and I think there was like 6 for sale or something like that. Maybe not even, it may have been 4. Really thin market. Again, they only made a couple thousand of them total. So it's hard to know what they're actually worth. They are up a lot, a tremendous amount. They are up above 100 grand, whereas like 6 months ago, they were like 60, 70 grand. So they're up a lot, especially clean low mile examples that have good maintenance history. On all of these older cars, maintenance history makes a big difference. And seeing that it has a good service record history, seeing that it's been maintained properly its entire life, makes a huge difference in those cars. Now, same thing for Testarossas. Service history matters a lot. Those are up a huge amount. Probably up almost like 50% now. I can tell you that when we sold Richard's Testarossa recently, it sold for, I'm not gonna tell you the exact number, but let's just say it was at the lower end of the market and it sold for more than the last Testarossa we sold, which was a far better example, much more original service history, way lower miles, much more original. So they've gone up a lot in the last year or so. Now, I know I'm missing some more cars. I didn't talk really about the hypercars. I have kind of been looking at those a little bit. You know, F40s are over 3 million now for like almost all of them. F50s are like 6 to 10 million now. LaFerraris, I haven't been paying attention to LaFerraris. I don't know where they're at. I'm gonna just assume they're over 5 million now. I know the SP3s are like 8 to 10 million. It's just like, oh my god, crazy numbers. Now, we're getting, some people have asked us or said, do you think that it's a bubble, or do you think that the market's, you know, going to be able to sustain these current high values? And number one, I can't predict the future. I don't know. Right now, my gut says it's not a bubble. So here's the funny thing. Already since posting that last video, the prices, I think, have stopped increasing, or at least slowed down. And I think what happened is they went up so fast that there was like a knee-jerk reaction, and they didn't pull back, but everyone saw them go up a lot, and so then more cars hit the market, which is helping hold it steady. So we're still seeing things that are like good cars priced reasonable are selling almost instantly. So, you know, when we listed the last two 458s, we had lots of offers within the first few days. Now, that wasn't the hours that we were getting a couple weeks ago. It was now days, but previously we would usually get offers in the first week, not as many as in the first days. So it's still hot. The market's still hot. I don't think it's cooling down necessarily, but I think it's kind of finding the new normal. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. The prices could come down, but I don't think that's happening. At least it's not yet. But the craze is over. Like the fever pitch acceleration in values, I think, has stopped. So those of you who are like, oh my God, I gotta dump my money in right now because tomorrow it's gonna be $10,000 more, I think you can relax. But I think those of you that were sitting on the sidelines and were like, oh, I'm waiting for prices to come back down to pre-COVID levels, it's never gonna happen again. You just gotta look at what's going on in the market. A lot of us don't like the new stuff. A lot of us don't like where Ferrari's going. You know, the newer cars are getting way more expensive from the start. Their MSRPs are going up a tremendous amount. So they're pricing them at ranges that are no longer obtainable to us. Furthermore, most people aren't liking the hybrids. They're definitely not liking the electric cars. And there's just certain driving characteristics about these older cars. They're easier to maintain. You can actually work on them yourself. I'm going to argue they're more beautiful. They came from a certain era that just, the cars look and felt a certain way. And what people are seeing is they're just not making them like this ever again. So that's why I feel strongly like that range of cars, the generation from the late 90s to the early 2010s, nothing like that's ever going to exist again. They won't ever do that again. So they're never going to go down to nothing. They're never going to be streaming deals again because everyone's accepted that, oh shit, this is it. If you want that car, that's it. There's a limited number of them. A lot of the people aren't willing to sell them. And those that are on the market are kind of all you got. So take it for what it is. All right. I know that's a lot of me making predictions and conjecturing on stuff that who knows? I could be 100% wrong in all of this, but so far, I hate to say it, but historically, most of these videos that I've done about values somehow have been fairly accurate. So there's something to be said about your gut feeling on these things, and my gut tells me the prices aren't coming down. They're not going to go up as crazy as they were, but I could be wrong on that too, because a couple months ago, would have never thought the 458s would jump up as fast as they did. So, I don't know. Well, there you go. I talked about a few more cars. I hope you guys understand and appreciate that we can't just tell you the value of your car unless you're actually trying to sell it to us or consign it with us. It takes time and effort, so it's not like a free service that we offer. We're here to actually try and run a business, you know, so we have to actually charge for those things. But if you're like, oh, I just want a value, you're welcome to pay our consultation fee and then we'll give you a value of your car. It's the value. It's not like the reality until it actually sells. So there you go. All right. I talked a lot. I hope you guys understand, appreciate it. We do appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I'm not trying to be mad at you or bitch at you or any of that stuff. We got inundated with emails in a short period of time, and a couple people literally got mad at us that we wouldn't value their cars when they didn't want to sell it. They just wanted the value. So I'm just sorry. All right, we will be doing a lot of cool car stuff I am going to be on vacation. I will see you guys when I'm back. But like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And of course, check out normalguyssupercar.com and NG Supercars. We do appreciate you guys' support. And we'll see you in the next one. We're going to be doing a lot of car stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. It's going to be sweet.